It's like in Deus Ex, you're really rewarded for exploring. Ah, I found a loincloth. You know you're in for something special when you boot up a game and the menu music is so goddamn ball-bustingly glorious that you have no choice but to sit there for 5 minutes and hear the whole thing before you start the actual game. Legend of Grimrock does not disappoint. This is a dark fantasy RPG dungeon crawling something or other. It's not a genre I had any first-hand experience with for the longest time, and I wasn't sure what to make of it at first, but now I can tell you with complete certainty that I am 100% glad I gave Grimrock a go. This is a game which, on the surface, is mechanically simple, and if you just looked at it you might think surely that's really straightforward and not challenging at all, but the further you go, the more insidious and ingenious this gets. It's not without its problems, but if you fancy an RPG of a genre that really is not that common these days, and if you just fancy something different in your fantasy gaming, I strongly suspect Grimrock may be worth checking out. But this has been enough of an introductory whistle wetting, as it were. This is going to be an Iron Man PERMADEATH hardcore let's play. I will not be doing the old school mode just because I'm bad enough at navigation as it is without turning the map off. I will just get lost forever and you don't want to watch that. So it's not going to be old school mode, but it is going to be on the hardest setting, and it's Iron Man, so if I die the video is over. This is going to be 100% of my resources are going to be focused on just staying alive. Staying alive. Now, I'm going to skip ahead to when I've created my magical foursome of unlikely heroes. So there's going to be a jump cut and then I'll see you in a minute. The tension, the suspense. I hope you guys appreciate the sheer strength of will that was required to avoid the temptation to just name these guys Murdoch, Hannibal, Faceman, and B.A. Baracus. But I resisted. Now, let's introduce you to the crew. We have Trevor McAwesome, an agile swordsman, who I picked this picture simply because he's wearing orange, and orange is the greatest colour, as we are all well aware. This is a fact. And then I have Double Pounder, who is a stereotypical tank character. He just stands there, takes damage, and deals it out in incredible degrees. There's nothing subtle about him. And then we've got Velocininja, who is of course my favourite because he's a lizard man. And what he does is stand at the back of the group and hurl rocks and knives at people. And occasionally he may try and stab you in the back. But as obviously as amazing as he is, being a lizard man, none of these pictures of lizard men are remotely good. Look at them, they're all hideous. This is like the best one. And I'm also not sure which one are meant to be women. I'm pretty sure that's a female. Looks more like a bat than a lizard man. But I like this one best. So if you want a good picture, you'll have to import one, I'm afraid. But last but not least, we have Insecto Patronum, who is our insectoid mage. Is it mage? Mage, one of those. Again, he just stands at the back, but instead of hurling knives and rocks, he hurls magical spells which will burn your eyebrows off at 20 feet. And really, that is our crew. There's nothing more to say. So let us begin our journey into the bowels of Mount Grimrock. This is going to be a suicide mission, isn't it? Hooray! Now, there's an introductory video which is fairly straightforward and doesn't really take much explanation. I, being lazy and quick to begin our adventure, will just skip over this and summarize what's going on. We are a foursome of prisoners who've done horrible, terrible, mutinous things, and we're about to have our crimes forgiven, but seconds before we're pushed into a big hole, which is the top of Mount Grimrock, an infinite dungeon of unfathomable Cthulhu horrors. So, technically we're free men, but we're being dumped in this hole and essentially left to die. No one has ever got out of Grimrock alive, including me in real life, because I've yet to finish this game. And there's also no explanation as to how we're able to survive this massive drop, but you know, suspension of fucking disbelief, man. Yes, Legend of Grimrock is indeed a legend. And now begins our epic quest to prevent our inevitable death for as long as possible. Taking all bets, taking all bets. Now, here we go. This is Grimrock. Now, if you're watching this, you may be slightly confused as to what the hell's going on. I am moving around on this grid. You cannot move on anything except this grid. And you can move the camera around freely by holding the right mouse button, but you cannot actually move off this grid. You are stuck to this. Everything in the game revolves around this grid system. You never find anything just freely moving around. If it did, the game would be broken. And we have our 4 crew here, all confused as to what the hell is going on, all with their identical magical ability, not identical, special magical abilities and skills. You level up. It's all fairly straightforward. And you've got a food meter which must constantly be refilled because you are always running out of food. Now, I think without further rambling, we should just get in here and I'll explain the game as we go along. I've actually forgotten most of the crap, so... right, okay. This is a complicated puzzle where we have to look at the torch and pick it up. And now I have a torch. I can put it down, I can throw it away, I can run after it, I can forget where it is, I can pick it up, and perhaps most importantly of all, I can give it to my Insecto Man, and he will now hold it. I should point out, this game is extremely beautiful if you have a good rig, which I do not, but it still is. It's one of the better looking games my laptop can handle to any decent degree. And to be fair, they only had to draw a couple of walls and then copy and paste them throughout the entire place. There is a few. The entire game is based around tunnels, obviously, because it's on a grid system, but you do get some more interesting looking dungeons the further down you go, which I was quite pleasantly surprised to. You get back to level 3 and it's like, oh, suddenly a different dungeon. There's no point in having more than one torch, whatever. I'm just trying to escape through here, but yes, I wasn't sure what to make of Grimrock for quite a while. I heard about it and I didn't know what to. I was like, oh, that's weird. That's a cool. I mean, I thought it was cool. Oh, I found a. Hang on. You can rearrange your party. I forgot to do this. Yes, I want double pounder. Okay, let's explain this. These 2 guys at the front, they're like my front-running guys. Whenever there's combat, I'm like punching the air to indicate combat. Whenever there's combat, the guys I'm facing forward, these 2 will be taking the brunt of the damage. And these guys at the back will be safer, but they can only throw or use magic as weapons. Well, you get some weapons which kind of like stretch and go 2 tiles forward. But, you know, this is what I'm talking about. You know, you'd think this would be such a simple game on the surface, but when you actually get into it, and the further on you go, the more dangerous enemies you encounter. Ooh, a mace. Yes. Yes, yeah. I don't think there's any difference depending on which hand you put things in. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Skyrim, actually, the whole 2-handed thing. I never made that comparison in my head before, but now, there you go. Legend of Grimrock. A bit like Skyrim in one vague respect. That's a recommendation. You can put that on the box. Oh, I found a rock, yes. Rocks are fairly self-explanatory. You throw them around, they do damage, but of course, Velocininja is our rock-throwing expert, so I'm going to give it to him. Now, what you're supposed to do here, because you're like, duh, how do I get through the door? Oh no. How could this possibly be solved? Because I can't be on the button and over there at the same time. Well, using some rudimentary logic, you may figure out that you can dump something on the button and then move through. And I think you're supposed to use that rock, but rocks are valuable as weapons, so you get more torches than you will ever need. I've also found a key. Keys are just essential for getting anywhere. You are always on the... Pretty much every single objective you ever have is go over there and find the key. But I have a horrible suspicion I'm underselling Grimrock, because this is what I'm trying to explain. On the surface, it appears so incredibly straightforward and simple. So it's easy to learn. I'd say it qualifies as easy to learn but hard to master, which is really, you know, that's a great philosophy for a game to have, I think. And you will also discover quite soon that Grimrock has a remarkable amount of atmosphere, because despite the incredible opening music, there is actually no real music in the game. All you have is this ambient stuff, which I will just let you listen to for the moment. It's pretty spooky, isn't it? But yes, what have we got here? Loose rock? Yes, this is a clue to, you see this very obvious smudgy looking textured rock here? That is a secret passage, and you can do this if you want to crush a rancor under the door. But you find secret passages, you get stuff. This was not really a secret passage because it freaking told you where it was. But it's worth keeping an eye on all the walls, because you never know when you might walk straight past some valuable treasure. And you are always looking for loot. This Grimrock has such a great loot system, because, you know, I was complaining before, in a game like Skyrim, you're always finding loot, and oh, okay, we may have run into some sort of giant creature resembling a French delicacy. I'm somewhat concerned by this revelation. I know, let's hurl a rock at it. This did not seem to help the situation. He looks very hungry, but, you know, I could learn to eat snails. I'm showing off the little magic system. Oh, yes. Obviously you need the right skills to do magic and such. Oh, quickly, that was a bit closer. You need the right skills to do magic and stuff, but you also, every time you want to use a magical spell, you have to press the corresponding runes, so you have to kind of charge it up. The left one is the fire spell, basic fire spell, you will use it constantly. This is a very well balanced team I've got. I like to have the two guys at the front who are just heavy hitters, and then everyone else has the knives and the magic. Also, I just picked up some snail meat, which is lovely. Who couldn't want snail meat? Everyone likes snail meat. Yeah, that's perfectly appetizing. And I have discovered what appears to be the remains of a dead guy. That's fine, why not? Ah yes, I'm gonna give my my front-running, hard-hitting, badass guys the things. Oh, now Trevor is a swordsman, and I'm not sure if you've noticed, but a knife is not a sword, but it's close enough. It's the closest thing he currently has, so he shouldn't be complaining. I'm not sure. Ah, right, torch. Was I talking about something? Oh, the loot. In a game like Skyrim, you're constantly finding loot, so there isn't really that much of an exciting event when you do find something interesting. But, oh, I found a knife for Velocininja to hurl at enemies viciously. Strike from the shadows with a vengeance. Oh, I appear to have discovered another snail. Oh, two snails, in fact. While I am beating up the snails, I will continue talking about Skyrim and its various issues that prevent it from being the magical, perfect experience it could so easily be. Yes, what was I saying? You're always finding loot in Skyrim, so it doesn't feel like a very special... Oh, I may have got stuck in a corner, which is the single... Okay. Let's explain this. You always have to be on the move in Grimrock. If you get stuck in a corner, that is the most straightforward way to die horribly. Yep, there we go. I was wondering why he was taking so long to die, and then he died, so that's fine. You don't really run into any kind of Shadow of the Colossus size guys in here. They all have to fit into a tunnel, so they tend to be fairly. Not that a giant snail is not unsettling by itself, but as I was saying once again, Skyrim's looting system. You get all this crap, but it's not very exciting. But in Grimrock, in contrast, whenever you find anything, it's like, oh, what is this? I need this. This gives me a slight edge. And the fact that so much of the best stuff is hidden makes it all better because you feel like you've earned it. It's like in Deus Ex, you're really rewarded for exploring. Ah, I found a loincloth, which it doesn't offer any protection, but it gives you more attack power. So it's good for guys like Double Pounder who are all about just stabbing dudes in the face. Oh right, Velocininja, he has tons and tons of evasion, so I'm not going to bother giving him much armor. I'm going to favor everyone else for armor, because he can just dodge most attacks anyway. That makes sense. It's kind of like the whole, do I get shields or do I get better engines thing in FTL. It is much the same. Hang on, was I meant to have found a key down here? I suspect I missed a key. Sometimes this happens. This is one of my few real issues with Grimrock is there have been one or two occasions where items can kind of blend in with the floor. Like, there's a slingshot at one point, and I completely walked past it because I didn't see it, because it was kind of hidden against some moss in the floor. And I didn't realise what had happened until I watched someone's video of Grimrock later, and I was like, hang on, what's that slingshot you just picked up? I didn't see it. What? I was very angry. It was so stupid, I walked right past it. I mean, on the one hand, you could say, well, you weren't paying close enough attention, but it was blending in with the ground. It wasn't fair. Not fair, I say. Ah, right, this is an obvious, again, incredibly subtle puzzle. Oh, however could this situation be resolved? I know. Now, these pits down here, I'd rather not demonstrate since this is an Iron Man Let's Play, and I'm trying to avoid dying as long as possible, you know. But if you fall down the pits, it's not actually instant death, although it can be if you've landed something unpleasant. What happens is you'll fall down, take a bunch of damage, and most often there are bad guys or some sort of trap puzzle thing you have to get over in order to get back out again. And this thing is really unsettling to look at. Look at that. That's the sort of face. It's Swamp Thing. Look at it. He's got the no, not Swamp Thing. What am I thinking of? Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's what that is. Yes, and again, these opening puzzles are not even really puzzles at all. They're like, do this incredibly obvious solution to get to the next area. But the whole point is this is a great little opening section because it introduces the basic concepts of the game, and then later on it gets increasingly nefarious and unfair and ridiculous. And what is this monstrosity? Oh, there's a couple of them. I appear to have run into the radioactive mushroom area. That's, that's not ideal, but I can deal with this. Do 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 do